Hey guys, Artil Boy here. Today we're going to be doing another video. Now, this is going to be basically back to the old roots, from my whole channel. Yep, we're getting on back to the gas masks out there. Now, don't worry, I'll be talking about knives and other pieces of gear anytime later in the future. Now, as you can definitely know, we're doing another video of the MCU/2P series. Now, I'll just say this out here. This funny part about this is this was like the Macbeth of gas masks for me. Why I'm actually talking about it, when it basically got this guy, yeah, lenses scratched up. Even that can't even see clearly out there. And actually a better size out there, but not terrible out there for the skull cap harness. Didn't came with the original harness. Also, the nose cup was pretty weird, but I'll talk about the cons on this thing. Now, when I first reviewed this, and this was in 2016, and as you definitely know, I mentioned this mask in the video. Before I mentioned this guy, like, because I didn't have this guy. Guess what? I basically got this guy. And as you definitely know, after the recording of the video, yes, that was actually before I was about to do the M40 review, my whole room was flooded. I'm not kidding. That was, like, no joke. So, I could definitely know this was, like, rather a curse. But to be fair, don't worry. I hope my room doesn't get flooded again. So, let's talk about the history of the mask. The funny part about this is this was actually originally intended to replace, I kid you not, and this is real, M17s, M17A1s, M24s, M25s, even the Navy MK5. Yeah, we're talking about a lot, even M9s. And as you can definitely know, those actually started as, basically started in development in 1974. And it was called as the XM29 and the XM30. And as you can definitely know from that whole situation, yeah, a lot of them has been rejected because since they tested it, they had a lot of, major problems. I'm talking about blooming, which I think that might be the bigger problem for mines. And, have poor sight out there. And even actually clearing this mask is pretty insane. And, well, I gotta say this out here. You have to put this in the oven. Yeah, sounds like a great idea. From not catching the mask on fire, maybe not melting the whole mask, which is rather insane. So, as you could definitely know, they decided to reject that whole thing. And as you could definitely know, in the 1980s, it was basically had Scott Aviation basically made theirs, released in limited quantities, which are incredibly rare. And the difference on the Scott Aviation variant and the one that I have is very much more white than the gray. And as you can definitely know, it basically was later on, like maybe in the 90s, or, yeah, so let me show you. Yeah. And then basically when MSA producing them, they decided to be using it both for the Air Force and the Navy. Yep. Kind of bit of a hilarious thing about that. So they decided to make multiple variants of it. One's like the MCU/2P, the MCU/2AP, and of course, the Millennium, and then the Advantage 1000, which I don't have that. And if I have that, I could definitely do a full maybe add that in there. So let's talk about the mask and the contents. let's talk about the bag itself. Now, it's basically a pretty big bag. It actually perfectly fits to the MCU perfectly well. Now, there's actually two pockets. One on top, for you to basically put some stuff in there. Little name tag. And a pocket in there with a strap inside of it. Which you can see right here. Now, inside of the big one, you could basically see one small one that's in there. If you can see it in there. Basically, like inside there for something small. And then a pretty big one with the plastic piece insert, or not removable, but you could basically put like something that's flat inside of it. And that's where you put the mask inside of it. Here is the VPU. Now, it actually does require a 9-volt battery. Yeah, these 9-volt batteries. Actually, oh, jeez, look at this. It's... Uh-oh, I got a bad feeling. But, yeah. Now, this could actually apply to the M40, too. All you do is click that in there. You twist all that in there. And that's what you got. Yeah, it actually is make it comically larger. Actually, a little bit more longer on the mask. But they do exist of another variant that has the little connector piece just for the MCU-2P. And then the other parts that I have was in there. You actually got the chemical warfare attendance record. Yes, that's real. There is the serviceable tag material. Of course, the normal waterproof chemical bag. Yeah, I got this from my Scott mask. Y'all know the Scott Pro mask. But oh, look at this. This actually is for my 2P. That's kind of weird. So it's actually... Yep. This was actually when I bought the Scott Pro mask, or the M100 or M110. Yeah, that's where I got all this stuff from. So let's actually begin the inedible testing on the masks. Oh, right. Oh, wait. I forgot about something. The accessories. Now, you could basically know that the accessories come with the clear lenses. Could actually come with the clear lenses, but I recommend getting those for your MCUs and your MCUs. You could basically get the clear, which is like that. The tinted lenses. And, oh, right. And there's actually do exist of a laser tinted ones. Now, unfortunately, I could not find any, but I did found pictures of it, and they do exist. But unfortunately, yeah, I could definitely know that's quite a bit going to be pretty rare to find. But if I find that piece, if I find that green tinted lenses, well, just imagine this being green. But if I find that, I'll talk about it. There's also the secondary skin, and of course, the chemical hood. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any of those two. Oh yeah, and also the weird threaded piece. No, rather, that whole thing. Yeah, that's actually meant for a VPU, which let me go show it to you. Let's talk about the mask itself. Now, as you can definitely see from it, it's the normal MCU/2P. You got the stamp right here, the MSA. You have the stamp that's right. You have another stamp on this. Basically, both sides. This is for the right-handed. You can basically you could basically switch parts out that thing, switching the plastic piece to there to basically make it left-handed. And as for many, and this is more of a little bit of a speed run, or not speed run, but as you definitely know, for anyone who wanting to fix the oral nasal cup, which it's a major problem on the mask itself, you can basically get like a little piece that is specifically to remove it, which unfortunately you can't find it. So the best thing about it is, well, basically using screwdrivers. Put it perfectly well on there, like pretty small, but not through the mask to damage it. And all you do is basically move it like this. And if it like that, you remove the basically the voice diaphragm, well, except for the second one, and then basically move around this thing to basically make it more perfectly fit to it. And if your oil nasal cup was good, put this back, and then putting this piece back on. And of course, the exhale valve, alongside with the flapper piece itself. And now let's look at the back of it. Now, it actually originally come with basically with the head harness, the 6-point head harness, the skull cap. But actually, for the best part about it is this one's actually come with a different head harness, which is kind of a pretty good one out there, pretty comfy out that one. And I wish I could buy more of these just for the rest of mine's out there. Now let's go look inside of the mask. Now inside of the mask, you get the plastic exhale valve, T-SOT tubes, the T-SOT system. Basically, will be blowing. Now the function out there is when you inhale it, the T-SOT system will be going into there and going into the flapper piece itself. And then you exhale, it actually goes inside there. Now, if you want me to disassemble it, comment down below if you want me to. Because this looks like a pretty easy disassembly. And as you can definitely know, this drinking tube sticks out. Now, let's get on to the testing of the mask itself. So this is what it sounds like with the MCU.
the difference sounds like with the BPU.
And then we get to the MCU/2P, 2AP. Now, what's so different between this and the original? Well, look at that piece right there. This actually is meant for the microphone port. But the funny part about it, during in the late 1990s, since these were basically being released alongside with the MCU/2P, as you definitely know, they've been tested out there to be damaged in unacceptable states out there. Yeah, it's so bad that it basically reverted back to the MCU/2P. So, it's very much just like the same deal, but the difference is, well, the microphone port piece. And inside of the mask, the 2AP, the difference is just the microphone port right there. Kind of like the same deal. So, let's go test on the mask. So this is what it sounds like with the mask on. And then we get to the MSA Millennium. Now, unlike basically the original MCU and 2APs, MCU/2Ps and 2APs, this one has a different material of high car nitrate. And these guys were tested in the March of 2003, March 7th to be here. Yeah, of 2003. These guys are... Now, mine's what I have is basically from 2005. So this one is basically have a different material, so you won't have to, I think, using the secondary skin out there, which that's the one I don't have. So as you can definitely know, I would basically save it in the most hilarious term out there. This is basically an MCU/2P, but in black. You know, pulling the Soviet gas mask card. Just basically use like two variants out there. Let me bring that one up. Yeah, pulling the old Soviet gas mask card. Like one in gray and one in black. You know, normal, like the normal Soviet mask would use. And this is basically isn't the... And as you definitely know, it can actually use the VPU, the voice projection unit. So, let's go testing on the mask. So that was what it sounds like with the mask on.
So this is what it sounds like with the BPU on.
Now let's go talk about the pros. Now the pros is yes, they have the 40 millimeter. It doesn't need like a special filter for the thing. And this is kind of bit a panoramic mask, so you can see the mask around it. But it does have, and also having the more of the butyl rubber, which that's actually pretty comfy out there. Which that's actually a pretty good thing out there. Let's go talk about the cons. Now, this could be a pro and a con. But what if they actually penetrate the hole out there, thus making the mask much more, pretty bad. You know, kind of like kind of very similar to another mask that I have. Like, if I get hit by, if the glass hits, that makes it pretty useless. And of course, the oral nasal cup. Yep, you can know why from a lot of it. They can actually get warped all around. And it's pretty normal to see this basically turning all yellow like. But that's kind of a bit of a con for me out there, but overall a not bad mask out there. So, what's the final verdict out there? The final verdict on the MCU series, including the Millennium, basically a 7 out of 10. It's a not bad modern mask, but if you basically find like something like, the M40 or the M53, you're technically gonna have to go for those guys. But these are not bad out there. They're not bad. So, tune in next time when we get to another mask or any pieces out there. So, I'll see you guys next time. I'm Tailboy, and I'm signing out.